Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad landed all the way back in 1997, and honestly, it's been shaking up how people think about money ever since. So let's dive in and unpack the core lessons from this book that has literally changed millions of lives.
Think about that for a second. What if everything you've been told about money, about your career, about what it means to be successful, what if it's all wrong? It's a pretty intense question, right? But it's really at the heart of everything we're about to talk about.
Does that sound familiar? I bet it does. This is the mantra, the advice that's been drilled into us for generations. Our grandparents told our parents, and our parents told us. It was supposed to be the one, guaranteed path to a good life. But here's the thing. The world isn't the same, and that old advice might actually be holding you back.
To really get why this is so important, let's look at a quick story from the book. It's about this successful career woman who thought she was giving her son the absolute best advice, until he hit her with one simple question that just stopped her cold.
And boom, that one question from a kid forced her to face a really uncomfortable truth. She was just repeating the exact same advice her parents gave her, but her son was growing up in a totally different world. Even he could see that the old rulebook just didn't add up anymore.
And this is the core of the problem, right here. Our schools are amazing at teaching us academic skills, but they often prepare us for a world that, well, it doesn't really exist anymore. They completely leave out one of the most vital subjects for actually surviving and thriving today: money. And that gap, that's what leads so many of us straight into a financial trap.
Kiyosaki has a famous name for this trap. He calls it the rat race. And it's such a powerful way to describe this cycle that so many people get stuck in, often without even realizing they're just running on a hamster wheel that's not going anywhere.
So what does this path look like? Well, it looks completely normal. You graduate, you land that job, you start making some money, you feel like you're on your way. You get married, buy a house, get a nicer car, then maybe kids come along. Life is happening. But behind the scenes, your bills are quietly starting to pile up.
And this is the part that gets you. You work harder, you get that promotion, your paycheck gets bigger, but what happens? Suddenly, you're in a higher tax bracket, and all those new lifestyle expenses just grow right alongside your income. You're running faster and faster, but you're not actually getting any further ahead.
So this leads to a really fundamental question you have to stop and ask yourself. When you're stuck in this loop, working all month just to pay the bills, who is actually benefiting from all that hard work you're putting in?
Because, let's be honest, a lot of the time, it's not you. You're working for the owners of your company. They profit from your labor. You're working for the government, paying your taxes. And you're working for the bank, paying all that interest on your mortgage, your car, your credit cards. Your paycheck is basically spoken for before you even see it.
Okay, so how do you break out of this? To explain that, Kiyosaki introduces us to the two main influences in his life. He had his real dad, who he calls his poor dad, and his best friend's father, his rich dad. And these two men had completely, and I mean completely opposite views on money.
And here it is, the fundamental split. Poor Dad was a very smart, highly educated man who believed in climbing the corporate ladder to earn a bigger salary. Rich Dad, who actually never even finished middle school, believed the exact opposite. He believed in buying things, assets, that would make money for him so he wouldn't have to work. For him, an asset was anything that puts money in your pocket. Simple as that.
So that core belief led to totally different advice. Poor Dad's main goal was job security. He wanted to be a valuable employee. Rich Dad's goal, financial freedom. He taught that you either need to own the company yourself or own the assets that make money for you. It's about owning the whole system, not just being a tiny part of it.
You see, it wasn't just that these two dads had different ideas. It was like they were playing two completely different sports, with two totally different sets of rules for how money actually works.
And here's the stark reality. The huge majority of people, that 95%, are out there playing by poor dad's rules. But that wealthy 5%, oh, they're playing by rich dad's rules. And their game is set up very, very differently.
So what's the secret? What's the key that unlocks the rule book of the rich? It all comes down to financial education. And we're not talking about complicated stock market stuff. We're talking about the practical, real-world knowledge of how money moves. Rich Dad's #1 rule was so simple. You have to know the difference between an asset and a liability, and then spend your life buying assets. That's the whole game.
And this is how the whole cycle just keeps going. The wealthy pass down this financial knowledge, this playbook, at the dinner table. They teach their kids how to get assets that produce income. Meanwhile, the poor and middle class, who often don't know this stuff themselves, can only pass down the advice they know. Go to school, get a good job.
So at the end of the day, this whole thing isn't just a story about two dads. It's really about a choice. It's a choice that every single one of us has to make about which set of rules we're going to play by in our own lives.
So what are the big takeaways from all this? First, start to question that safe advice you've always been given. Second, take an honest look at your own life and see if you can spot the patterns of the rat race. Third, just accept that the rich are playing a different game. And finally, make it your mission to learn the rules of that game. You have to educate yourself.
And that really just leaves us with one final thought to reflect on. Every single day when you go to work, whose dream are you building? Is it your boss's? Is it the bank's? Or are you taking real, active steps to finally start building your own? That choice is entirely up to you.